Three, two, one. I think that should sound pretty good.
Yeah, on point. On
All
point. As
right.
always.
As always,
As
like I said last
always.
week, first time every time. Oh man,
Reunited and it feels so good.
for real. All right, so again, this is going to sound a little different, and it's Wednesday. Full disclosure, scheduling conflicts. In order for you to get at least two of us this week, um, we had to record this evening. So I am not alone again, but at least you have two of the three of us this week. This is 11 o'clock comics episode 997, and I am David A. Price.
This is true, and I'm not Vince B.
You are
He's
not.
still handling business, but I am of course Cass Pollock.
Oh no, no, you are not, Cass
Thank
Pollock.
goodness.
You are Jason Wood. How are you, my friend? Welcome back.
Pretty good, man. Thank you. Yeah, pretty good. Obviously, I'm a huge part of the blame here for the strange scheduling. I normally August, end of August is tough for me. If longtime listeners probably if they're obsessive about the cadence of the show, there's usually one episode at least in August that I end up missing because it's both usually we usually take a family trip and then also it is the height of fantasy season and as you know, Dap, I'm in 38 different leagues, not an
Yes.
exaggeration. So scheduling those and all this, it generally gets pretty messy. And as you alluded, this year was even further complicated by the fact that after not attending a wedding in probably 20 years, we have back-to-back weddings coming up this week, which is pretty crazy. So just yeah, I'm the scheduling prima donna and appreciate you for doing it tonight because otherwise, like you said, I would have been in absentia again because this is the only night of the entire week that I had free. So yeah, but
And yet,
September will be here before we know it, and then usually from September through December, I'm a homebody and we're good, we're locked in. So
yes, excellent. Um, yeah, especially as we ramp up the end of con season as well. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, and then I had some unexpected family drama creeping up. So tomorrow would have been really weird.
yeah, yeah.
It would have been our silent episode. So um, we
Special guest letter, comma.
that it's like, so. Um, this episode, of course, as usual, brought to you by cheapgraphicnovels.com. Max has there's this ado this doesn't mean a damn thing to any of you. It was just a funny bit of circumstance because as I was putting together the notables for the slackers, uh, the website CGN's website was down, and while I was also emailing Max because I needed to swap a book out of a pending shipment because I forgot I already had ordered it, and I want to give my neighbor's son, who's the personal trainer. He one of his clients recently gave him the first trade of Absolute Batman, so we were talking about Marvel and DC and things like that, and I told him, hey, Absolute Batman is great, but if you want to read the best Absolute book, so I'm going to get him the first hardcover of Absolute Wonder Woman, and then
Nice.
and I also so while I was emailing Max, he was letting me know about the site, and so You can head over there now. The site's up and running, cheapgraphicnovels.com. You can place your order. After you place your first order, you then send Max an email letting him know that 11 o'clock comics sent you to him, and your next order, that's the one you're going to stack up on and really have your postal worker push you out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one you're going to get free shipping on. So make sure you take care of that. The specials, as I said, for the slackers are posted there. There are some other specials like Question All Along the Watchtower trade paperback, $12.59. In the wake of absolute power, the Justice League created a haven for all heroes, but can they keep it secure? Enter Renee Montoya reeling from an abrupt end to her time in Gotham City and starting over with a dangerous new case. There's a deadly threat hidden within the Watchtower, and only the Question, along with Batwoman and the rest of a ragtag support team, stands a chance of finding the answers and keeping the body count from climbing even further. Collects the 6-issue miniseries. There's also Walt Disney's Donald Duck. Donald Duck Finds Pirate Gold hardcover, the Carl Barks Library, Volume 1, $29.99. At last, Fantagraphics presents Carl Barks' very first Donald Duck stories. This is where it all started, as Carl Barks took control of Donald Duck's comic book adventures and began a series of clever, creative, complex, and comedic stories that would continue under his cartooning brilliance for more than 20 years and guarantee his place in comics history. Volume 1 in the complete Carl Barks Disney library is naturally filled with firsts. Barks' first comic book story, starring Pluto. The first Donald Duck story created for an American comic book, and also the first to see Donald and his nephews go on a treasure hunt. Barks' first Donald 10-pager. Barks' first truly solo Donald Duck story, and Barks' first solo longer form Donald Duck adventure, The Mummy's Ring. With more than 200 pages of story and art, each meticulously restored and newly colored and insightful story notes by an international panel of Barks experts. This long-awaited collection of stories makes clear what generations of Disney fans have always known. Carl Barks' work as the good duck artist is some of the greatest American cartooning in the history of the medium. And finally, I'm kind of happy that this is getting a 2025 edition. It's one of our favorite ideas, and I enjoyed reading this every week. But Wednesday Comics hardcover, $44.99, back in print for the first time in years. It's Wednesday Comics, DC's tribute to Sunday newspaper comics, featuring unique and dynamic stories from the top talents in comics. This 11 by 17 hardcover edition collects the entire award-winning anthology series that reinvented the classic weekly newspaper comics section. Wednesday Comics features 16 different stories starring the world's greatest superheroes, including Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and The Flash, as well as lesser-known characters including Metamorpho and Metal Men. Each story is written and illustrated by comics luminaries from multiple styles and eras, including Batman by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso, Commandy by Dave Gibbons and Ryan Sook, Hawkman by Kyle Baker, Sergeant Rock from the father and son team of Adam Kubert and Joe Kubert, Adam Strange by Paul Pope, Metal Men by Dan DiDio and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and Kevin Nolan, and many more. Plus, this volume includes 2 stories, exclusive to this collected edition: Plastic Man by Evan Dorkin and Stephen DiStefano, and Beware the Creeper by Keith Giffen and Eric Kennedy. This volume collects Wednesday Comics numbers 1 through 12.
Man, Wednesday Comics was a thing when it came
I
out. We
loved it.
adored
I
that thing.
loved it so much.
It was awesome. I really thought that it would be the first of several. You know, I thought we'd every couple of years
Yes,
get
I'd hope
one.
it'd be an annual event. Yeah.
Didn't
So
turn out that way, but I'm glad that it's getting another lease on life for peeps that weren't around or didn't get it back in the day, because it was fucking awesome, man. It'll never match the first time, because we got those beautiful newspaper print versions.
yeah.
It was so much fun. I'm pretty sure we talked about every single issue at length when it
Oh
came out, if
hell
I
yes.
recall correctly. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was awesome. So since I knew that you had to carry the show like Atlas on your own last week, and you got a lot of other stuff going on this week, I want to try and make sure this was as a pleasurable experience for you as possible. So I am in fact imbibing.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yes, correct, sir. Yes, I figure I'm still riding the absolute train wreck of a eating and drinking diet of our vacation. So I figured I just let it carry on and through tonight, and then I'll get
Love
back
it.
on the saddle tomorrow. So I am drinking a. This actually, this is a thematic drink too because our, as you know, but for our listeners, our middle son Jackson is mere days away from shipping off to Spain for the semester, and wifey and I are in the midst of planning our trip in November to see him. And I think one of the things we're going to do when we go out there is take a couple days in wine country and in Spanish wine country where they actually make most of the world's Riojas and Tempraníos. And so, in honor of that, I am drinking a 2018 Bodegas Cornelio Selección Autor Rioja from Spain, and it's absolutely fantastic. I have to say, because I don't talk about alcohol on the show as much as I used to, but for my money, the last year or two, I have fallen absolutely in love with Spanish wines. Tempraníos and Riojas are like pretty much always a hit for me. So um, I'm all about them Spaniards, man. They be doing the grape right.
Nice. I am enjoying some Santa Julia from Argentina. This is a
Hmm.
Malbec from 2024.
Yeah, Santa Julia is great.
Yes.
The is it the Santa Julia Reserve?
I didn't. It's a family estate. I don't think it's the reserve.
You said you're drinking what? Is it Malbec? You said.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think the Santa Julia Reserve is a blend, but we get that a lot too. It's really good,
Yeah.
really good.
Mendoza. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I like
Argentinians
this
get
a
the
lot.
grape right too.
They do. Yeah. So
Nice.
we're going to since it's Wednesday today, New Comic Book Day. Uh, didn't get a chance really to read anything that came out today, but because we knew tonight was going to be a little different, Jason put the call out to the Slackers and asked them to if there was any topics, any ideas, anything that they'd be interested in hearing us speak on, and they came in as they always do. They're always coming in clutch. So, what kind of ideas did they have?
Yeah, we got a couple questions that we can cover that are pretty simple, sort of like shorties. But the big, I think, theme for the episode that'll at least take up a chunk of the night is from longtime supporter of the show, Mr. Hambusi, Peter. Another Peter. We have a lot of Peters, but goes by Hambu. I assume Hambusi is his last name, but he goes by Hambusi on the Slack. And he said that he listens to another non-comics podcast that he likes very much, and they do a thing called OUFL, and that is short for overrated, underrated, favorite, and least favorite. And basically, they just hit on subjects, and it's kind of like a version of F Mary Kill, I guess, but a little more focused on non-sexual idolization or objectification, and we thought that might be fun. So I think we each just riffed on a few ideas that we had thoughts about, and decided that we would sort of give our thoughts on the theme, and then if the other person has thoughts, cool. If we don't have thoughts, no pressure. So sort of like carrying our own water on this one, and I thought maybe we could. I don't know how many you came up with. I have four, and I chose the four based on. I thought it'd be fun to do this under the auspice of picking four things that I adore in general. So like each of these things that I did the OUFL for are things that I think like I'm a massive fan of, generally speaking, such that there's way more I love about them than I don't. So it made the quasi negative categories of least favorite and overrated a little harder, and that was by design. Whereas the underrated and favorites, I could have riffed on quite a bit more. So that was my take on it. We didn't really connect today to see like I don't know how many you came up with, but how many did you end up picking up?
I followed your lead. I
Okay.
I went with your four, and then yeah,
Oh,
then
perfect. Oh, great.
and then I also did Superman stories because just because you threw that out there, I was
Oh,
like, well,
okay,
that's pretty
perfect. Oh,
easy.
oh,
So
beautiful.
yeah,
Oh, this is beautiful then. Okay, so the first one I threw out, and to be clear, they're not all comics related. This is more culture related because I just thought it'd be fun. Listen, we're throwing caution to the wind, people. If we're going to go off script, we're going to go off script.
Big time,
Uh,
yes.
Daddy's not here to crack the whip, and so we're going to have a little fun. Um, okay, so the first one though is comic related, and that is OUFL Wolverine stories. So why don't we just go in order? I'll give you my overrated, and
Sure.
then you can give yours.
Okay.
Okay, so my overrated, and again, just to set the tone here, I adore as anyone that's not new listeners, and if you are new, welcome. I love Wolverine, always have. I have read the vast majority of Wolverine stories, certainly at least the ones that would come up in conversation for for major stories. Hundreds and hundreds of Wolverine books, especially if you include all of his team appearances. I mean, it's I wouldn't be surprised if I figured out that I read 1,000 Wolverine stories at this point or issues.
Yeah.
So with that said, overrated for me. I was choosing between two that immediately came to mind, and I kind of bounced around for a few hours today until I ultimately pulled the trigger on Old Man Logan. Now, I took overrated as a category to heart. I don't think overrated means bad. To me, overrated is a book or a concept that I think is in many cases totally fine and acceptable. But I feel as though the collective standing is higher than it should be, and so that's why I went with Old Man Logan. I absolutely enjoyed Old Man Logan when it came out, written by Mark Miller with art by Steve McNiven. It's got Wolverine. It's post-apocalyptic. There's a lot there that I like, and I did enjoy the story. But I think as time has gone on, it has become one of the few Wolverine stories on a very short list that people always cite as, oh, if you want to learn more about Wolverine, check out Old Man Logan. And part of that is driven by the MCU because of the films and that it many of the ideas played into the probably the best critically received film of the Wolverine run. And I get all that, but for me, I think it's just a bit overhyped these days because it's a futuristic tale. The Wolverine we get in that is both visually and personality wise different by design than anything else we've gotten of Wolverine in his major canon. And ultimately, to me, I think the story is not really a Wolverine story, even though it's called Old Man Logan. It's much more uh, a Marvel Elseworlds, and we ended up getting lots of other spin-offs or miniseries over the years that were built into the same Old Man Logan verse. And again, that's all fine and dandy, but to me, it's just not a quintessential Wolverine story. And I think that if you haven't been steeped in what made Wolverine in the first place, the story would feel much less impactful to you. Like if you've never read much Wolverine and you pick this up, I can't say whether you would or wouldn't enjoy the story, but I don't think you would really even get why it's interesting because it assumes that you know a lot about what happened with Wolverine in the in the main 616. And so ultimately, again, not a bad story by any means, but I think in terms of those on the short list for what people consider the best ever, I think this often makes those lists, and I don't think it really deserves that highest spot.
I did have that. I had three in mind, and that was one of them. One that I just almost instinctively listed, but then after thinking about it, it wasn't really fair. Was the very first Wolverine miniseries by Claremont and Miller, because that isn't overrated. It's I mean it's a classic and it deserves whatever respect it has. Um, but I won't consider it overrated because I think it gets overlooked often. Um, but the one I did end up going with, and no shade, and this isn't you're not meant to be catching any strays off of this one. But I went with Enemy of the State.
Interesting.
I do. I mean, there was a time when I wasn't very keen on Miller, and that was one of the stories that I would always that I would cite. I would tend to cite that story as a reason for my just um, over the top being extra for no. I mean, there's a lot of death and destruction in Enemy of the State. It's a massive popcorn blockbuster type story. There, everyone is in it, and it's a brutal story. It is Wolverine doing exactly what Wolverine does, especially when he's untethered and no restrictions. Um, and and JR's art is it serves the purposes and is works well within that story. But yeah, there's just when I think about and I know it is a great story and it people talk about it fondly. But when I think about all of the Wolverine stories and that one pops up, I tend to think I don't know if people it's hard for me to tell if people enjoy that story because it is violent. It's Wolverine just going balls out, or if they just that because it's Miller and it's just something that it's it's a nifty story title. I'm not sure if people actually really love that story or if they because it's a Wolverine story or if they enjoy it because it's it's a bit different from it's almost like one of those Impossible Man Kills the Marvel Universe type stories, although it had happened during the Wolverine ongoing, and
Sure.
he does kind of just go through the Marvel Universe, and there's a reason for it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I mean, not that it's an old enough story where
It's 20
most
years
people
old.
should know about it, right? So, but yeah, there's a reason why, and you should read it if you haven't, just to see how it all plays out. But yeah, it's one of those stories where I'm just like it. Someone said like you with Old Man Logan. It's like when someone says Wolverine, very shortly after that, I'll usually hear Enemy of the State when they're talking about
Hmm.
Wolverine stories because it is it's a popular story. It was it was like I said I think it even happened during the summer, so it was just it was fun, and it was Miller being able to just kind of go all out. Um, but yeah, I think also part of it of my feeling towards it is that I was reading that Wolverine run from Jump when Greg Rucka and Derek Robinson kicked off the Marvel Knights Wolverine title,
Yeah.
and I was enjoying that for like the first 12 or so issues, and then or maybe they even worked or maybe Rucka even wrote it up until he handed it off to Miller, but it also felt like a bit of an abrupt change from the stories that I was reading when the title launched, and now here we are with like a big because when Rucka was writing it, it didn't it wasn't like when Aaron was writing Wolverine and he was teaching a bunch of kids. This was Wolverine on his bike and he was just kind of like a loner, and the stories were a little different. Um, but then the next month now here's Mark Miller and it's a massive major superhero story drawn by one of the biggest superhero artists, with John Romita Jr. So there was a shift in the tone of the title, and that might have played a part in me just feeling some kind of way when it was coming out. But um, I mean, I could revisit the story and enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, I tend to think as often as it does get talked about when people do talk about Wolverine stories that it it it's on the border of being overrated to me.
I'm not going to hold you. It's. I mean, I would probably say it's like one of my five favorite
Yeah.
Wolverine stories ever. But but I'm hearing your argument. I mean, but I can't really say I disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, it isn't. It didn't make. It's not on any of my. It's not one of my four for any. So it's. So I'll allow it. But I certainly skew towards liking that story. But I get it. All right. So underrated. This one's actually pretty easy for me because again, like I think a lot of the truly great Wolverine stories are like already well known, right? Like they're what most people would suggest. So, but one of my personal favorites, I don't think this is often cited in those lists or talking points, and so that's my pick, and that is Logan, which is a 3 issue miniseries from the mid 2000s, I think 2007 or 2008. Written by Mr. PKV, Mr. Saga, Brian K. Vaughan, with art by my boo Eduardo Risso.
Yes.
So two of my favorite creators all time got together and did a real, like I said, a 3 issue little miniseries that was set in Japan. and it's basically just a very quiet story of Wolverine trying to go about his business, living a calm life in Japan, and things go tits up. And it's drawn by Rizzo, so it's just it's got that incredible visual aesthetic that I just adore. And so yeah, I think that story's masterful, and it's they get in and get out in 3 issues, and it's even sitting here thinking about it as I talk about it, that just leaves me with an indelible mark. And I think it's rendered in a way that few Wolverine stories have ever been rendered, and had a lot of heart. And yeah, and I think that a lot of people know the Wolverine Japan stuff from the Marvel Comics Presents and Madripoor and sort of all those tie-ins, and this certainly feels spiritually at home with that, and I think brought up to a whole nother level. So that's my pick on the underrated is Logan.
I like that, that was actually released in two flavors. You had the color, and you had a black and white version.
Yes,
Um,
correct.
which obviously, I mean, if Risso's drawing it, black and white is just it's chef's kiss. Um,
Yes.
that is an awesome choice, and one that I was looking at as I was going through the lists of Wolverine stories. But my underrated is is a weird one, and it's probably going to be. I could see a bunch of dog head tilts when, but it's there, and it's actually part of that same Wolverine ongoing that Ruckus started that gave us Enemy of the State, but it's it's the issues that tied into Civil War. It was written by Mark Guggenheim. It was penciled by Humberto Ramos, and it was basically Wolverine going after Nitro. And good or bad, however you feel about Civil War, the main miniseries, some of the tie-ins, some of the crossovers, they had some pretty fun stories. And the this particular one where Wolverine just was picking up the trail, uh, I enjoyed a lot, and it's something that I think about every once in a while. I like the way Umberto draws Wolverine, but yeah, him going after Nitro and not really caring a whole lot about what he has to do to get him was fun. But yeah, it's just one of those things because my underrated and my favorite could be very. They they probably wouldn't have switched. I mean, my favorite probably could be underrated for anybody but me and Vince. But yeah, it's I never ever think about or see anyone refer to. I don't see too many people talking about Civil War tie-ins. Period. But when I
Yeah,
think about all
facts.
the Wolverine stories, um, yeah, I don't see too many people going, "Hey, that one Civil War tie that was pretty fun." So it's underrated to me, and just because I I like it. I don't know how many people do, but yeah, I even for people who do, no one's really talking about it. So I deemed it underrated.
Respect. Yeah, respect. All right, favorite. You already threw some shade on this, so I'm already side eyeing you because, um, I mean, for me, there were two choices for this, and they are probably the chalk choices. I was choosing between the Weapon X run by Barry Windsor Smith in
Yep.
Marvel Comics Presents, and I ultimately didn't go with that. Instead, I went with Wolverine, the 1982 miniseries, written by Chris Claremont, drawn, of course, by Frank Miller with Joe Rubenstein on inks. 4 issue miniseries. A lot of love for that book on lots of levels. It's one of the first miniseries I remember buying at a comic store, bagged and boarded. It felt like I was buying a piece of treasure. Remember the covers like they were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And just I guess ultimately I'm a mark for Wolverine being in Japan because obviously that series is set in Japan as well. But to me, it was designed to be the blueprint of Wolverine as a standalone character, and I feel like it exactly accomplished that. And I think that version of Wolverine is my favorite version. And he's gone through lots of machinations, too many damn machinations over the years since. And to me, that's like the purified essence of what makes Wolverine badass. And so, cliche though it might be, and probably chalk, I too have to say, like many would, that my favorite Wolverine story is the original Wolverine miniseries.
I'm mad at that. It's a great one, and it is it. it came out when Marvel wasn't really doing a whole lot of miniseries.
Right.
And yeah, and it
Yeah, it was
was
82 because then in 84 we got like 8,000 miniseries. They,
yes.
they discovered their love affair with miniseries.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that choice. It's a favorite of many, I'm sure. I do like it as well. It is it just because here's a character that was just all about being part of a team, and they decide, and they just broke him off in their own little mini series, and they also they were able to tie it back into the main to the uncanny ongoing. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that choice at all. Um, Mine, however, is from from the '90s. It's from the second volume of Wolverine, following the miniseries, but it's the Larry Hama and Mark Silvestri era, where we got Albert and
Sure.
LCD and Sabretooth. So this is around
Hmm.
this is late 20s, early 30s, up to like through the 50s. But that was
Hmm.
just that's I enjoy that so much. Having Silvestri draw it every month. It was just and yeah, I really enjoyed Wolverine during that time. It was after the whole Madripoor and Patch stuff, and he was getting
Yep.
back to just being a superhero more or less. But yeah, that was I get a kick out of that, and people here,
That
Vince and
could
I
be an
agree.
underrated pick too, because I don't know that
That's
that's like
true.
that's not on the short list. You know, like that's a deeper cut I think for a lot of people.
Yeah, they
But a
my
great
my
run, a
yeah
great run for sure.
my underrated and my favorite, I guess. Yeah, they could have been swapped either way. But yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. Yeah, that is, and I I might, if I find the essential collection with that run, I'll probably pick it up because I don't have most of those issues anymore, and I do. I'm in the mood to reread it.
Hmm. All right. Well, least favorite is probably the easiest. It's been a running joke in on this tier podcast.
Dude, where this is going?
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, Wolverine Evolution, an absolute abomination. Jeff Loeb, and I mean, Simone Bianchi was the artist on it. I really didn't have a problem with the art, to be fair. I think
Mm-hmm.
Bianchi is a fantastic artist, but yeah, this of course is you've all heard me rant about this for many times over the years. This was Wolverine Volume 3, issues 50 through 55, and then it continued from there. But this kind of was the setting of the tone, and it introduced the idea of the lupines, where Loeb posited that Wolverine and Sabretooth and other you know feral characters that we've come to know were in fact not human mutants. No, no, no. They were part of another ancient race of dogs who evolved into human as they mutated, and all thanks to the machinations of a guy that looked like a giant version of Wolverine with the same hairdo named Romulus, who manipulated all of it from you know over the centuries, and basically they were his puppets. And I hated literally every single thing about this. And unfortunately, and the reason it will always stay I most hated is because Romulus has continued to be a part of the Wolverine narrative ever
Oh yeah.
since, including the most recent run. So I can't, and I think it's all dumb. And even though they've theoretically retconned a lot of that away, um, it still happened. I still read the issues, and I still wanted to to render them asunder and use them as kindle to burn something down. So yeah, so Wolverine Evolution probably is and will forever be my least favorite Wolverine.
And knowing you were going to pick it meant I didn't have to, and I was able to
Sure.
use my least favorite for the Bill Jamis written Origin miniseries because I did not
That was
think
the other. Yeah, if Evolution didn't exist, Origin was right up there.
I of all the stories that did not need to be told, aside from Evolution,
Yes.
it's whatever moved you to want to tell this story, cool, but it didn't need to be said. It didn't need to be published. It did. There are some mysteries that just should be left as mysteries,
It's
and
true.
obviously they were able
There was a
to.
time for many decades we did not know that Logan's name was James Howlett. Right?
Right
That we now we know.
now we
And
know.
And also speaking of the because I don't know if you're that's another perfect that's still haunting the MCU the Marvel universe because
They used it in the
spoilers I
movies.
guess if you're no, not just that, Wolverine's mom apparently never died and she's alive in the current Wolverine series.
Oh my
Um,
god!
yeah, which I
Wow,
just can't. I
that I didn't
can't. I
know.
can't.
Holy
I
shit!
mean, I can't.
It,
Yeah, I can't.
and and it's there's oh man and it's wild to me that even after they did that, Claremont's like, oh, okay, I'm going to write X-Men Forever. And I'm just going to continue writing it as if Jim Lee and I were just finishing the third issue of the
yeah,
ongoing. And I'm going to
yeah.
ignore anything. He's just Logan to me. He's an amnesiac. He's not, 850 years old. It's just this Wolverine is still the same character I've been writing since the 70s. And it's just like, and it's wild to me that you can have, I mean, obviously it's Claremont, so they're not going to say anything, but it's just yeah. I wish of all the books that I wish didn't happen. That is up there high on the list.
No, I'm with you. Totally with you. All right, nice. So there you go. So there's our OUFL for Wolverine stories. Let's jump to a question from our boy Jace, Nation of Jasons hashtag. I thought this was a fun one. He said random too. He said it's really two questions in one, but it's they're of the same ilk. Do we remember our first date movie? And if so, what was it? And then, uh, aside from that, do we remember the first movie we saw in the theater? So two separate questions because I can't imagine that most of us were going on dates as a toddler or a preteen. But I do, in fact, remember both quite vividly. Um, Now, let me posit this. Memory is a tricky thing, and we're getting old, so like I may be wrong on this. In fact, I am sure, I am absolutely sure that what I'm about to say is not the actual first movie that I ever saw in the theater. I'm very sure that my parents took me to many movies long before this, but this is the first that I can legitimately remember like it was yesterday. Waiting in line for the tickets, going into the theater, where we sat in the theater, watching the movie. Like I just remember all of it as an event, and it was, and so I'm gonna go with it. Even though again, I'm sure I saw movies in the theater with my parents before this, and that was in 1981. Woodrow was ripe old age of 7 years old, and I it was Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I
Damn.
remember it. Because my I tried to like go into the memory banks and some of the earliest movies I just vividly remember going to were that one, Return of the Jedi, Rocky 3, Breakin', the
Oh my
Breakin' like,
god.
but
Yep.
but most of those were like 83 because I had to check when these came out to make sure my
Yes.
mind wasn't playing tricks on me.
Same.
And so I made like a short list of the movies that I remembered going to as a kid. Because like I know I'm pretty sure I saw Empire in the theaters, but I was a toddler. Like I mean I'm sure they took me to see like Disney animated movies, but I don't remember them. But I just remember Raiders, and that was 81, and that was far and away the earliest movie on the short list of mental recall I had. So that's my pick there. In terms of date movies, this is a deeper cut, but I remember it like it was yesterday. My first date movie was Pacific Heights,
Wow. I
which
love that
yeah, it came
movie.
out. Yeah, it came out in 1990. It was basically like a thriller, like a psychological
Yep.
thriller. I believe it was directed by John Schlesinger, so not exactly a household name, but it had Melanie Griffith and Matt Modine, were a married couple, and they moved into a beautiful new, not beautiful, it wasn't a new home, but they moved into a new home, a beautiful Victorian home in Pacific Heights in San Francisco. And they happen to have a psychopath living there in their studio apartment, and hijinks ensued. And that psychopath was none other than Michael Keaton, aka Batman.
Yes. Which is one of
Yes,
the
and
early movies of him being like
absolutely,
a nut. Yeah. Oh.
yeah. So, but I got to tell you, I don't remember the movie that well because I remember just PDA making out with the girl I went with, like just like crazy, crazy horny teenagers. So, I was 15 at the time, and yeah, like I remember it. So shout out to I won't give her last name because I don't want to dox her, but shout out to Marissa. Uh, it was a good time, and yeah, so shout out to Pacific Heights.
Oh man. Okay. Uh yeah, I too was going through movies that I remember seeing in the theater and checking the years that they were out. Like I remember my aunt took me to see Fox and the Hound, a Disney movie that's like 81. A couple years later, she also took me to see Purple Rain. But um, and I know for certain that we did see Empire Strikes Back in the theater, which was 80. Um, and I am, and when we moved out, when we lived in Arizona, when they were filming scenes for Return of the Jedi, it was in the desert near where we lived, and my father actually tried
Mm-hmm.
to drive out there to see, if we could see anything. Um, and so I know I did see all three of the first Star Wars movies in the theater. So I'm going to say Star Wars as my first.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I remember a whole lot in the theater, being around 5 years old, but um, I'm gonna go ahead and claim that. And when Jace asked about date movie, I didn't read it as your first the movie you saw when you went on like the first time you went on a date with someone. Uh, I I went with because I can do that. I didn't really take too many. I didn't date much at all, but I didn't. The only time I did take a young lady to the movies on a date, we went. Uh, it, so we saw Harlem Nights,
Nice.
which is an absolute great movie. I mean I know I
Absolutely.
enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than she did, um, and
Shot my pinky toe.
this it's a great fucking movie. But the first movie, funnily enough, that I saw with the woman who would be my wife, um, and this was and she ain't slick because we we drove. It was almost like it was a double date. We when I lived up in Dutchess with my brother, um, Renee drove up, and after the movie, she claimed she was too tired to drive home, so I had to drive her Prelude back to Westchester and ended up spending the night. But the movie we
Mm-hmm.
saw of all movies, which it had to have been love, she was definitely looking for something because it was the very first Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst Spider-Man movie.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
So
Snaggletooth upside down kiss.
yes, and for someone who dislikes Spider-Man immensely, unless it's Tom Holland, yeah, that was our first movie date. Um, and
Nice.
then, although our first, I obviously there were shenanigans there, and she had ulterior motives. So the we did end up a couple weeks later, or sometime later, we played hooky from work, and we went to see Lilo and Stitch, and the original Disney cartoon, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, those were yeah, Spider Man. I'm going to say was it's pretty much what I consider to be the first date movie.
Love it. Love it. Well done. All right. OUFL 80s cartoons. Again, I am a child of the
This was
80s, as
fun.
are you. So I have incredible love for dozens and dozens of 80s cartoons, and many of which I think objectively are probably pretty bad if I were to watch them now. But nothing is like the lens of when you're a kid, and your bar for entertainment is much much lower then. So I have a general adoration for 80s cartoons. There are many 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 that I consider fondly. So I thought it would be fun to sort of try and piece through those maybe that didn't hit as much as well. So for me, overrated. There were really two that came to mind immediately, and I came very close to picking He-Man and Masters of the Universe. Um, I did not pick it because the one pick to rule them all. It was the first thing that came to my mind, and as much as I tried to make a case for choosing He-Man over this, I couldn't. because I just can't stand this one yet. I feel like it's beloved and on many top 10 lists, and that is Muppet Babies.
Wow. Okay.
I cannot, I do not understand the appeal of the Muppets animated as little babies frolicking around making up imaginary stories. I literally never ever understood the appeal, but I feel like so many of our contemporaries like want to slap me in the face when they hear me say that. They're like, to them, they that cartoon is up there with all the greats for them of their childhood. And I just don't understand. So yeah, Muppet Babies. I mean, much love to y'all that like it, but I thought it was corny AF then, and corny AF now.
I don't. Yeah, I can't. While I don't dislike it more than what I chose, I get it, and it's not a cartoon that I'd be like, oh snap, like the world needs this. I didn't think it was. I didn't. I don't want to punch my fist through the TV, but yeah, it wasn't. If I'd look for something else. I'd looked at either one of the other two channels. What else? What was playing against it Saturday mornings just to
Yeah.
see? Because I wasn't a fan. I enjoyed the hell out of the Muppets. I would watch. We would watch the
Oh,
live
sure.
action Muppet Show like
Oh, same.
weekly, no
Yeah,
problem.
same.
But yeah, no, the cartoon, the babies aspect wasn't it for me. But something that was that is thought about fondly, and I get it. I understand the appeal, and it's cute, and it's perfect when you're at that age. But just because it was everywhere at the time, and it's still pop culture reasons or whatever, it's still joked about today. But I am so over Care Bears.
Ah, yes, yes, the Care Bears.
Mad
Yes.
respect for I mean, listen, it lasted this long, and it's a
Hmm.
nifty idea. I did watch an episode or two, no lie, but yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't I'm Care Bear out.
Yeah, not respect on that. I wasn't about the same. I wasn't really a big fan of the Care Bears. I
But I
feel like
mean, we
it was
weren't the
on all
target
the time though.
demographic, so yeah, it really was.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. But it does remind you of, again, talk about dating ourselves. But back then, like, we watched all these fucking cartoons because the choice was watch these cartoons or not watch anything because it was three channels. So
Yes.
it's like, all
Yep.
right. I mean, like, if it was a rerun of one I'd already seen, I probably put on the Care Bears. It's like, well, I haven't seen this at least. But so I watched it, but I always be like, ah, wish there was something better to watch. The kids are spoiled these days. You got 87,000
Oh
things
yeah,
to watch at any
absolutely.
time you
And
want.
then you could just, I mean, you
Yeah.
could watch them anytime. Also, Saturday mornings you
Yeah,
were locked in
exactly.
between 8 and noon. After like
Yep.
you had the rest of the
That's right.
afternoon to do whatever you wanted. But during those 4 hours, you had three channels to find out.
Bro, was there
We
anything
got the
better than the primetime special that would show you the new cartoons that were coming?
not just
Like,
that, but then the comics. You'd get the double page spreads of the
oh my
fall
god, I
lineup.
know,
And
I
this way,
know, it
you'd
was
be
so
able to
exciting.
plan out. Okay, so from 8 to 8:30, I'm watching Super Friends, and I'm going to watch Tarzan, and it's like you just go through everything, and it's oh man,
And you had decisions to make because
yes. God
you
forbid
were
you
like,
like
oh
something that
man,
was
we're
on.
8:30. I got
Oh
two things on I want to watch. What am I gonna
yes,
do? What am I gonna do?
but at least,
Yeah,
but
man,
but
it was
also
serious business.
back then we had reruns. So like even though like
Yeah,
things
yeah.
things went from like September through the following August because they would just once the season ended they would just replay it. So we could if you knew okay I can't watch it now in October I'll watch it in June and
To your point,
when it
that's why we ended up watching Care Bears and Muppet Babies anyway. 'Cause,
they're in
well,
a yeah
I
because
haven't
it's just
seen
like
this at
that's all
least.
you had.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
because you really didn't have the VCRs to try to. Yeah, no, it was wild. It's not it's not like oh in my day I was churning my own butter, but when I think about what we did when we were watching cartoons back then when we were growing up compared to you can just turn on Netflix and watch Dan to Dan right now, or you can go to Hulu and watch whatever else. But yeah, it's nothing was on demand for us back then. It was
No,
we
like you
sacrifices
said,
were
we
made.
didn't. This was before we even had our a VCR. So
Yep.
you watch what was on. All right, so underrated. This was super easy for me, and again, longtime listeners probably could guess this before I even say it. I got to go with Mask, Momo Arbel's Direct Command.
I knew you would.
You know, 80s boys focused cartoons were often tied to toy lines. In fact, the vast majority of them were. Certainly many of the all-time favorites, which we'll probably get to here in another category, are easy to think of. But for me, I loved Mask as much as I liked some of the others. But for whatever reason, it didn't quite ever take off with as much, vim and vigor. Um, we're in a halcyon time right now because we're getting new Mask toys. They're reproducing the line. Very excited for that. I've already pre-ordered them. But
Nice.
yeah, man, like I love this. I love the aesthetic. For those that don't know what it is, it was it was a toy line where basically they were like quasi transformers. They were vehicles that didn't transform into robots, but they transformed into like what fighting machines. So like the lead hero Matt Tracker had a Camaro, but the Camaro then turned into like a gull wing fighter jet. One of his teammates had a green motorcycle that turned into a helicopter. There was a 18 wheeler that turned into like a command center and like a missile silo, and it was that kind of thing. And the toys were awesome. Had a lot of the toys. And my favorite thing about the cartoon was, and this is a theme that stayed with me forever. You guys know I love the getting the band together. Well, that was the premise of this cartoon, is that um, they would have a mission that they'd have to do, and so Matt Tracker would pull up on his computer, and the computer would recommend which members of Mask were right for the job. And so every beginning of every episode, you'd see like the file card and the little bio of the person, and they all wore these masks, and each mask had a different superpower. And you'd see the mask in the vehicle, and you'd see them like doing whatever they're doing and getting the emergency beacon, and they'd have to like drop what they were doing, like eating a burger at a diner, and have to like drop the burger and throw it on and run off. Like it was just, I just love the conceit, and it's fucking Mask, man. So yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just a hidden gem that just didn't never reach the cultural zeitgeist of some of its contemporary, you know, boys focused toy cartoons. So
I knew, of all the items of all the cartoons based on OUFL, I knew exactly where
I
this one was
know,
coming in.
yeah, yeah, of course.
I Not necessarily a Saturday morning cartoon. I did watch it before school every morning. That is Defenders of the Earth. I
Okay,
just
okay.
There's something I it was I mean aside from the ever so catchy theme song, it was just it was one of those things where I don't know because it's not like I'm not a Mandrick the Magician stan, so it's not like one of those things where I'm like, oh snap, this cartoon was made for me. But it was just it was Flash, it was Mandrick, it was Phantom, and so it was all the King's Features characters, but or not all of them, but at least these three, and Lothar and Ming, and it was just there was there was just something about it. I don't know if it was because it hit just at the right time. I was able to catch it before school. It was just it was something to watch, but um, I enjoyed the hell out of that cartoon, and I really really wish that that the current comic kind of just captured that feel for me. But it just it's not hitting for me. But I'm glad it's out there for anybody who was into it. It's a nifty concept. But yeah, it was. It's not that and like Bionic Six. Very few people ever talk about. So
I thought
that
you were going to pick
was
Bionic Six. To be honest, I really thought that was
yeah,
going to be your pick.
I probably should have if I want to stay true to form. But yeah, there was just something about when I was thinking about everything. Defenders of the Earth just kept coming into my head, and I was just like, well, there's no
Yeah.
point in fighting it then.
Nah, respect. All right. Well, favorite again. Not going to be a surprise here. I mean, it's to me, it's a two-horse race between GI Joe and Transformers. I mean, to this day, I adore them both. But if I have to pick between the two, I got to pick GI Joe. So, as a kid, GI Joe meant way more to me in all of its forms than Transformers. I had most
Sure.
of both. I had most of both toy lines. I watched both cartoons religiously, including the reruns anytime I could. I read both series, comic series. So I was a massive fan of both, like many boys that were born in the 1970s. But again, like if but GI Joe would be like 100 out of 100 of my interest level. and Transformers was maybe like a 97. So I got to give Joe the nod.
I I'm not surprised, but I'm a little surprised. I thought maybe our favorites would have lined up because mine is Robotech.
Ah, I didn't think of Robotech because to me, I view Robotech as like a 70s cartoon that we got imported.
Okay, all right.
Which is not I mean, it's
I
more
get
like a
it. Yeah,
mental, like
sure.
a cop out, I mean, I'm actually literally staring at a box set of Robotech right now. I mean, it's 10 feet away from me, so I have much love for that. But I feel like Robotech I watched more sporadically, like that, along with like battle, like with Star Blazers. Like I feel like
Yep.
I watched them when I came across them, but it wasn't
Yes.
like
Like Gotcha Man. Yeah.
must see
Same thing.
TV. Where literally like I would race home from school again, like millions of other kids in the 80s, and sit down and watch Transformers and GI Joe every single time. And like anytime you saw a character on either show that you had never seen before, your mind started racing about when are we going to get the toy? Is the toy going to come out for Christmas? So yeah, but no, but I mean, Robotech's fucking all time classic, of course.
It's true. Then
Um,
I also
all
and you
right,
also had the
and
Kamiko tie-ins. The Kamiko line had the was
yeah,
adapting the cartoons into comic form, which was nice. So
yeah,
least favorite.
yeah. Um, there were a bunch of choices here,
Yeah.
but uh, but I ultimately went with one because I find nothing redeeming about it, and that is Turbo Teen.
Oh wow.
Um,
That's a good
yeah,
one.
for people that don't know what we're talking about, Turbo Teen was literally a human kid who transmogrified into a red race car, and I just thought it was corn pone. It didn't make any sense to me. The animation was terrible. Um, the whole thing was just like weird to me. It didn't make sense. And there's a bunch of others that I could have easily also made a case for, but in terms of the one I just found nothing redeeming about ever, it was Turbo Teen.
No, I no argument here. Mine, however, because it pissed me off that it existed and I didn't see a reason for it. I have no idea where the hell it came from because it was so obvious, just trying to take advantage of another franchise, and that is not the real, but just Ghostbusters. Why is there a fucking ghost on
Yeah,
this team?
I considered that as well. Yeah,
What the hell was the purpose of this cartoon? I have no idea. And then you had to have them come out with the real Ghostbusters, which of course was Egon and that was adapted
yeah,
from the movies. But Ghostbusters, I just had no. That serves no purpose. I don't know I don't know why a reason for being. I just it annoyed me. It still annoys me just thinking about it. Coming up with this list and putting it on here, I was just like, you're back in my brain, and I don't. I want you out of it. It was such a dumb cartoon.
agreed. Yeah, totally agree with you. All right, question time, Dap, from
Uh
our
huh.
from our from our boy Jeff Carter. Jeff says, "What about the other hosts' personalities do you admire and/or wish came more easily to you?" So I thought that was interesting and
It
on
is
brand for
interesting.
Jeff. Jeff's
Yes.
in his fields. I think he's a very
Yeah.
sensitive dude,
Yep.
which is, I mean it totally in a complimentary way. I'm not that, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, again, not to, we don't have to be too schmaltzy here, but you and Vince are obviously two of my very best friends in the world, and you wouldn't be that if I didn't find you both to have very many redeeming qualities. So it's not as like there's one standout thing per se, but in the spirit of the question, I will say that for you, I think the overarching quality that I most admire about you is your empathy. I think probably a lot of our listeners, at least those that have met you or interacted with you, know what I'm talking about. You are extremely attentive and sensitive to the goings on of everyone that you like. You just remember like events or big things that are happening in their lives, good or bad. You take great care to let people in your life know that you care about them beyond like a surface level of like nice to see you. And I find that extremely admirable. And while I think I'm reasonably empathetic person, I think I definitely can. I'm not as universally good at that as you are. There are definitely people that I probably come across as being aloof to. So that's my pick for you. And then for the Paisan, that one was pretty easy because I think we could both agree that Vince is like his passion is unparalleled. When
Oh, for
he's
sure.
interested in something, it is like the greatest thing ever. And we hear that we make fun of him for it when he talks about. But I mean, how many times in the 10, in the 1,000 episodes we have we done that he this is the greatest thing that's ever happened, or this is the greatest thing I've ever read, or this is the greatest music of it. And I think in his heart of hearts he means it when he says it because
Yeah.
he gets so all encompassed by the things that interest him in the moment, and it's just like this raging flare of passion. That again, I think we're all passionate about lots of things. That's why we do this for as long as we have. But like, I don't know that I could ever match his intense passion in a sustained way, like he can sustain his passions in a way that like I think is hard for most human beings to do. So those are my picks.
Those are awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with you on Vince. The For me with Vince, it would be aside from his creativity, and it's across everything, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's like he just writing. He's a creative motherfucker. But it's also his ability to just see things, for lack of a better word, as they are. He knows they're just drawings on paper, so it doesn't matter how explicit or graphic or just utterly repulsive it may be. He
Mm-hmm.
knows it's just lines on paper, and he doesn't get so emotionally invested in it. So he can
That's true.
he can separate the art from the artist, and that's something that I will always have trouble with, but I absolutely can respect the ability to just, I'm reading this, it's a work of art, it was created by someone, and that's all it is. Whoever created it, whatever they did, has nothing to do with, and I'll disagree with him on that at times, but whatever this person did, it has nothing to do with what I am consuming by them right now, and
Yeah,
that's
it's a
fine.
great answer.
I can definitely appreciate that. For you though, yeah, I it's your ability to be as analytical as you are, to the way you approach things logically, scaling back on the emotion. But you're way more Vulcan than I could ever try. Like there are times where I'm just like, I wish I could just look at it, like, because there are times where, I mean, over the years you've known me, I'll get worked up over things, and it's just like, bro, like, you don't, it this is what's going to happen, or this is how it'll come to pass, and it's like, but I'll get, I mean, hell, the old house. It's like it didn't matter if there was a hint of rain coming. I'm stressing because I know what the hell can happen in this house.
Sure.
So I just, but yeah, if I just live in the moment, if I just take it as it comes, knowing it's going to pass, it's like I could exhale and life would be better.
Mm-hmm.
You have that ability where it's just like, this is what it is. You can see the future in that sense, where it's just like, you know how to get from A to B without getting so caught up in the emotions and stressing about it. Whereas I don't have that ability just yet.
Yeah, respect. You're getting there though. You're getting there.
I'm trying. With age comes wisdom.
Nice. All right. OUFL number three, and this one's a fun one. This is probably the hardest in all facets because there's a big list of things you could choose from. Buddy movies. Buddy movies. Who doesn't love a good buddy movie, right? So, I love buddy movies. So there were just a lot. It was a lot. So I had to. I had to really. I had to be judicious on this one. So for underrated, uh, or I'm sorry, for overrated rather. I was really choosing between two, and I think I'm going to get hate mail for either one of my picks. So the one I didn't choose, but was very close to choosing, was Rush Hour.
Oh
Jackie Chan, Chris
wow,
Tucker. Yeah, I can't
wow.
stand that movie,
Oh
and I
no
know everyone
shit.
else loves it. Yeah, I can't stand
Wow.
it.
I'm
So
changing my favorite. Okay, go ahead.
Choose your
No,
um,
I'm kidding.
um, but the one that absolutely stands above that, I would gladly watch Rush Hour every week for the rest of my life instead of having to watch this again. But everybody fucking I know loves this movie except for me. Is Step Brothers.
Wow.
Will Ferrell and John C. Riley play play adult stepbrothers who can't stand each other,
Oh,
and so you're
I
laughing,
love this
and
movie. I am.
it's two actors I adore, comedic
Family
actors I think are
practice.
very funny generally.
Uh huh.
It's written and directed by Adam McKay, who's a classic writer, and obviously was head writer at SNL for a long time, like funny dude. I just don't. It's just one of those things. That movie is saltpeter to me. I do not find a single scene of it funny, and I don't know
It's
why.
amazing.
And it just like I feel like I can't go like a month or two without people being like, "Yo, Step Brothers is hilarious," and like quoting it, and I'm just like, "Cool, dude. Do you, bro?" So my overrated buddy movie is Step Brothers.
That's wonderful. Where else are you going to hear Mary Stever just say, "What the fucking fuck"? I can't. That movie cracks me
On
up
Larry David
so
every or on
much.
Curb Your Enthusiasm every other
Sure,
week. I mean,
okay, fine, but Mary Steenburgen of all people. My overrated is, and I don't care what kind of hate mail I get for this, is Tommy Boy.
oh, that's a good one too. It didn't come up in my research today, but that's a good one too.
I just, I,
I am not a Chris. I am not really a Chris Farley movie fan, to be honest with you.
yeah, no, that's. I mean, yeah, I never watched Beverly Hills Ninja. I don't. Yeah, he's absolutely great on Saturday Night Live. I think he's a funny
Yeah,
fucking guy. Love Chris Farley. Um, but yeah, and there was a time when David Spade annoyed the ever living hell out of me,
yeah,
and it was yeah, it was it's just I don't, and even the one, even their follow up, whatever the hell, the Black Sheep. Well, I don't remember, but yeah, I wasn't. I they're best friends, and I know Spade misses them, and they are great together. But yeah, Tommy Boy just I don't. I also his character, Farley's character, was just not something I was going to be into anyway. So it was just there was a whole lot against me with that movie from Jump. But yeah, I'm not. If you love it, great, but it's just not something I'm ever in the mood to watch.
yeah. No, that's fair. My underrated choices were largely films from the early '80s, and I think why I view them now as underrated is because I feel like they've kind of fallen out of the cultural zeitgeist. I just don't feel like the next generations are really into or aware of them. And maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe people are like, "No, you're crazy. That's a movie people love." But I was choosing between a few. But ultimately, I went with Stir Crazy,
Nice,
1980. To me, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, no hyperbole, are one of the great comic duos of all time. They
absolutely.
made a shit ton of movies together. Both have since passed away. I thought they were always funny. I remember watching these as a kid. I mean, 1980. I was five going on six. But I remember my stepfather was a huge fan of these, and he would, let me watch them. And it just, it's one of those things when you're little, like you knew you shouldn't be watching them because they were R-rated, so that made it even cooler. But I've watched Stir Crazy and really all the Wilder, a dozen, 2 dozen times each over the years. I think they hold up. And Stir Crazy was actually directed by Sidney Poitier. Fun trivia, um, which many people don't remember. And for those that don't know, it was 1980. Gene Wilder, many of you probably younger bucks know as the original Willy Wonka. Um, you know, uh, Curly haired, wide eyed white dude, and Richard Pryor, of course, at the time was the biggest, literally the biggest stand up comedian of all time. And they were literally like oil and vin. You had this goofy white guy and this super famous funny black guy, and they just made magic together. And to me, Stir Crazy is the best of the bunch. The premise is they basically get wrongly accused of a crime they didn't commit. Depp, that's timely, and go to maximum security prison for life. And again, it's a slapstick comedy, so the premise is ridiculous, and it's just their interactions in prison with the other people, and they actually end up participating in a prison rodeo that event where they build this grand plan to escape, and it just was hilarious, and I think it holds up, and I just don't feel like those Wilder prior comedies are often discussed anymore in the cultural on, and that's a bummer to me. So yeah, so
That is awesome. And it was one that I started paring down. I did go with one that I did see in the theater when it came out, and I think about it every once in a while. But it's Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin, and it's Midnight Run.
that was another one that was on my list. Yeah, that's a great pick. Yeah,
It's just it's so yeah. It's something that I really feel like I want to watch it again. Like it's just I don't. Yeah, it's fun, and it's it's so indicative of the era. It's just yeah, it was it's I like it a lot. It's a funny movie, um, not necessarily a true buddy movie. But yeah, it's just it is it's two guys who don't get along at first, but it's yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it yet, I
nice,
definitely recommend it. But yeah, I feel it's underrated.
absolutely. Okay, speaking of favorites, there were two picks here for me, but honestly, one I watch at least once a year, going on, God, going on 40 years. So it has to be the pick. I have original art inspired by it. It is, to my mind, and I will die on this hill, the greatest comedy film of all time, of any type, and that is Trading Places.
I
Uh,
knew it.
1983, directed by John Landis, starring Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. Another odd couple by design. Eddie Murphy took the mantle from Richard Pryor as the greatest stand-up comedian of his era, and was probably, well, not probably, was an even bigger star because his star sort of transcended just being a comedian. Dan Aykroyd was similarly at the heights of popularity of SNL and was one of the bigger comic actors of the time. And they got together, and in my opinion, I mean, I am. If we had a contest for films that we could quote from, I mean, I pretty much feel like I have that film, every scene memorized. I adore it. We got to see Jamie Lee Curtis in prime form, including her very famous scene where we see her breasts, which are legendary. And I just think it's a great movie, man. I once a year. Um, I just adore everything about it, and I don't. I will hear no. I will hear no arguments to the contrary. Trading Places.
You all from me. Um, there was there were two that I had for favorite. One because well, one probably could have also been listed under underrated, but the one that I'm going to go with as my favorite buddy movie, at least right now, that could change in a couple weeks, is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer.
Nice. Yep, I considered it. Yep.
I like that movie a lot, and Michelle Monaghan, yeah,
Yep.
who who's quite fetching. But yeah, that's a fun movie.
Tom
I
Brady's
like it
baby
a lot.
mama.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, his first kid. She was with
Oh
Michelle
shit, I
Monaghan.
had no idea. Damn.
Yeah, before he married Giselle. Yep. In fact, he broke up with Moynihan for Giselle. Um, yeah, no, that's a great one. My backup runner up, Bad Boys. I love that fucking movie.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I was expecting to hear that. Mine was um, Gregory Hines, Billy Crystal, Running Scared.
oh hell yeah, oh yeah,
Love that.
dude. Gregory Hines had a minute too. Like Deal of the Century. Remember him and Chevy Chase as arms dealers?
Yes.
Um, I met Gregory Hines actually on a flight to
Oh
LA
no
once.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, good, good. That's a good. That's a deeper pull. I like that. I like that. Okay. So least favorite. That's all we got left. Least favorite. I got to be honest. Like, I'm pretty forgiving about buddy movies as it turns out, because I was looking at a list of like hundreds of buddy movies, and I'm like, it's okay. Like, there were too many I just thought were like pure trash. I was like, I guess I just love the format, but there was a few. There were a few that I was like, oof. And so, my least favorite buddy movie, at least that I remember vividly enough to have strong dislike for, is The Glimmer Man. This is 1996, directed by John Gray. It the premise was something I should have liked. This is Steven Seagal, who again I know has become a punchline, but
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
there was a time when Steven Seagal was that dude. He was Mr. Action Hero, and Keenan Ivory Wayans, who again there was a time when Keenan Ivory Wayans was one of the kings of comedy. Color and so many great parody films. I'm gonna get you sucker. I mean there were so many. And so they paired up to do a buddy movie, an action movie, and it was a buddy cop thing. And honestly, though, this was what I would say was the beginning of the end for Seagal when he became when he became the laughing stock, when he went from 80s action star to unfocused, out of shape, old dude, much like Vin Diesel would be today. We were like, really, bro, and he's trying to hold on, and I thought they had terrible chemistry, and it was one of those things where like I just remember the movie tried, it couldn't decide if it wanted to be like a gritty action movie or a comedy, and it just didn't get the balance right. So I low key hate that movie, and so that's my pick.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I could definitely. Yeah, shit. I remember seeing. I remember when that was coming out too. Damn. Um, I I guess I can be forgiving as well, but there's just one movie that I the franchise was kind of whimpering along before this fourth installment, but
I know
I so dislike Lethal Weapon 4. It is
yeah, who doesn't, man? That's
I know
terrible.
it's like that's I mean that should be on many people's least favorite movies. It's the
Yeah.
third was I mean the third even the third you could ask somebody because the second one everybody remembers it was South Africa and it was Joe Pesci and it was I think the second movie was even better than the first in some places, but and in the third, people even forget that there was a third because they forget all about the cop killer bullets and that whole subplot. And then the fourth comes out, you got Chris Wright. It's just what a mess. Oh, you got Jet Li, so we're gonna
What a
have some
mess.
martial arts. But it's like, bro, like just stop.
Yeah.
Just
Nah, it was a
yeah, no.
mess.
Yep. Damn.
Nah, I'm with you, man. Good pick. Good pick.
Thank you.
My runner-up and least favorite was I now pronounce Chuck and Larry. By the way,
Oh my god, that's good. I like that. That is a good pick. Okay.
I mean Sandler and Kevin James are like. I mean, listen. I know you have a soft spot for Kevin James. Boo loves Adam Sandler, but like, I couldn't picture two actors I at least want to see partnered up than those
I
two.
know.
So.
No, yeah,
And
that
and,
was a
and,
good.
and, and again, I think that the movie at the time was well intended, but that is one that I think
That's not going
did
to age
not
well.
age
No,
well.
yeah, it's not. It's
No,
definitely not.
no.
I mean, I, I do. Yes, no, you're right. That Kevin James does get a lot of love in this house. We'll watch King of Queens from time to time. Renee likes Paul Blart. Um, even Hitch. He was great in Hitch. But yeah. Chuck and Larry
He
was
was good
not.
in Hitch. I'm not
Yeah,
going to hold you on Hitch.
100%.
Yeah, I liked Hitch.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's not. Even Grown Ups. I can't watch Grown Ups. I don't care for the Grown Ups
Oh
movies. So, and I'm not
no, no.
because you've got Spade, you've got Sandler, you've got. So yeah, it's just there's just too much that I'm just not going to enjoy. So I avoid them
Yeah.
completely. But yeah, I hear you.
All right. Last transition question. Shout out to Peter Fodor for this one. When life gets shitty, what are some books that you can always go back to brighten your day? Now, this is an interesting one because I've said this many times over the years doing the show. I don't consider myself someone who generally rereads things. Um, I rewatch things a lot. Like I have rewatched like I've rewatched The Wire like 3 times, and many series I've rewatched more than once. And I've watched some movies 10, 20 times over the years. So like I'm not like against re-experiencing things, but for some reason I don't the frequency with which I will reread a comic or a prose novel is far less. It really is. And as a result of that, those books or comics that I have reread or do reread more than once, I actually is short enough that I view those as like all-time favorites. Like that's one of the things that makes them all-time favorites for me is that I'm willing to re-experience them. Um, so my list here is not that long because I don't have many things that I say I reread actively. far and away the top pick here in prose is the Hitchhiker's Guide. But the collective Hitchhiker's Guide, not just the first volume, but all of the Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide novels. I've reread them all because I usually, if I start reading them, I read the whole thing, in kind of one fell swoop. I've reread them all 7 times, I think, over my life. So that's certainly, I mean, that's certainly got to be at the top of this list. On the comic side, again, it's cliche because it's probably the best-selling comic of all time. But I've reread Watchmen probably 10 times,
Yeah.
and find great joy in it every time. So those would be like the picks for sure. Others that would fit into the mode would be Avengers Forever. I have read that as a palate cleanser several times over the years when I'm frustrated with the Avengers. I've reread Fear Agent a couple times. I've reread 100 Bullets, I think 3 times all the way through. Um, I've reread Stephen King's The Stand probably 5 or 6 times. Um, I've read a number of Cormac McCarthy books 3 or 4 times each. Blood Meridian, The Road. I've reread Moby Dick 3 times, which is no small feat. So yeah, so like again, all things that people already know about me that I love. Those would be my picks. But I think in the spirit of Peter's question of like pick me ups, it would have to be Hitchhikers because those books always make me laugh and smile.
I still need to read them. I've got actually,
Bro,
I've actually no, I believe I have. Yeah,
I'm
I
filing
should
for
be
the
right.
force.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I'll dig it out. I'll show you the version that the edition I have.
Oh yeah.
I know. Eventually, I'll read it. Retirement's coming up soon. I got all the time in the world.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I there are things that I'll. Funnily enough, I reread a lot of things when I'm in the middle of reorganizing or inventorying my books because that's when I'm like, hey, I haven't read this in a minute, and I'll stop whatever the hell, however I'm cataloging things, and I'll stop and I'll read a chunk of stuff. But some things that will pick me up, put me in a better mood, put me in my happy place would be DC Dollar Comics, especially World's Finest, The Wolf and Perez Teen Titans, DC New Frontier. Um, yeah, a lot of Bronze Age stuff. Even the even Spidey stories from the 70s and 80s. The older Avengers stuff. Or even a lot of things from Independence, like whether it's Zot or Grimjack or Nexus. There are things where just because, sadly or unfortunately, however you want to think about it, it's not always, well, it makes sense because they're new, but it wouldn't. I'm not in a rush to reread anything that just came out within the past few years, but yeah, the things that I remember sitting down either on the edge of my bed or wherever and reading. Those are the books that I tend to look for when I want to go back to a happy place. And yeah, and a lot of it are going to be books from the late '70s up through the mid to late '80s, and I'll I'll either go through some boxes and dig out something, or if I have a collection of those stories, like the Titans Omnibus, or even well, now we got the Triangle Era Omnibus. But yeah, I mean, there's I've got the Absolute Watchmen. There are things that I'll flip through, but yeah, it's usually stuff that it's almost always going to be things that I read during my pre-teen years. That I'm going to
Hmm.
find to change my mood.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Last OUFL DAP. Well, at least until your additional one. But of the ones I threw out, OUFL horror comics, and it's probably the hardest for you because
Yes, yes, it
you
was.
don't read horror comics with near as much frequency as or I do.
Yep.
So kudos to you for playing along because I assume this was probably the toughest one for you. For me, I mean, I read a shit ton of horror comics. So, but again, like as I sort of was trying to compile a list, I mean, I generally read them because I love them. So, um, but listen, there's a lot of horror comics, so there are some ones that are kind of trash pandas too. Um, so in terms of overrated, and listen, you know, again, like Dap said, I'm an analytical person. I got to keep it a buck with y'all. I'm gonna keep it a buck, even if it's you know, gonna cause some feels. But I I went with Hack Slash.
Okay. Well, I mean, you picked a
Listen,
good night
I
to do
love.
it.
Yeah, I love him. I think he's a great dude. I mean, I love Revival's awesome. He's done a ton of comics I've enjoyed. Because I loved him, I've always rooted for Hack Slash to be successful. Like I have nothing like I no shade at all to people who love it, Vince included. But I just could never connect with it. I always thought it was sort of uninteresting. I'll just put it like that because I don't want to get, I don't want to get fragged or put in some, I'm going to tread carefully on this one. I'm just going to say my honest, I think, I just think,
That's no, that's fair.
yeah.
I mean, I'll get more shade for this one because I mean, I did finish it. I went back and I reread it. Well, I went back. I reread the early issues and I just chugged on through to the end. But because it feels like it went on forever, because it was the badge for every New York Comic Con for like over 10 goddamn years. I went with The Walking Dead is overrated.
Bro, you're crazy.
I know I am. I know I am. But it was an easy one. It was a cop out. I just
Oh
threw
my
it out
god.
there. I'm done. I'm just like
Oh,
I picked it. I'm out of it. I can move on
oh.
to the underrated now. Uh,
If I didn't want to get in trouble with my pick and didn't want to be fully honest, I was going to go with 30 night. I think that's pretty overrated as well.
that is a good one, and
Yeah.
I did have that one on my list, but actually I I should have done that for my least favorite, but I went with the one I went with. I'll explain when we get to it, but yeah,
All right.
that was on my list. Yeah,
Well, okay. Well, this I knew this was going to be the spiciest one. Underrated. My heart wanted to go with American Vampire. But I think I'm probably kidding myself if it's to say it's underrated because I think it's generally well loved. So like, I thought it wasn't playing fair because it's like, well, I want it to be loved by everybody, but like honestly, it feels like probably one of them, at least among modern horror books, it's very well received. I, so I couldn't say in fairness it's underrated. It's probably fairly rated, because it is largely praised. So I went with a book that I do feel is legitimately underrated, at least in terms of its popularity, and that is Harrow County,
that is a good
written by
pick.
Cullen. Yeah, written by Cullen Bunn with art, incredible painted, beautiful
Oh,
color art by Tyler Crook. This is a book that ran from 2015 to 2018. Shout out to our boy Caleb. It's one of his favorite
uh
books
huh.
of all time, and it's a Southern Gothic tale about it's about lots of things, but it stars a girl named Emmy, and it's basically a haunted town, and yeah, it's just it goes. It's a long running series. And I think it holds up from start to finish. I think the arcs are interesting throughout, and I think it's as good as any of the Tynan stuff that's sort of running rampant across the sales charts these last few years, and which I like most of that stuff, if not love it. But I think it's just as good as that, and I think it's just as good as American Vampire, and I think it's as well executed a horror book as anything we've seen in the last 10, 15 years. So that's my pick.
I like it. Um, Speaking of Tiny Onion, this is a book that Vince and I talked about pretty much when it came out, and we'll mention it from time to time. And it was eventually collected as part of the trilogy, but it is from James Denny IV and Eric Donovan, and it is Memetic.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah, good pick, good pick.
I think when people, those who read it, they'll dig it. But yeah, it's not something that people are when they're looking for horror books or
Yeah, no,
something.
it's right. Yeah.
So I figured underrated work too.
No, that's a good pick because it even is a pick among like Tynan's such the horror hype beast for the last 10 years or 5 plus years, and yet Memetic would not like that wouldn't be the book that most people think of when.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good pick. Um,
And it looks a little different too visually
yeah,
because of Donovan's style.
I've
And when
done
you
it.
think about
Yep,
Department of Truth or World Tree, it looks nothing
yep.
like his other stuff.
Yeah, and shout out to Eric, a longtime listener, longtime friend and listener to the show.
Yeah,
Okay, favorite. I'm not gonna hold you. Walking Dead was my up. If it, I mean, I because not only did I enjoy the comic and it was must read, but I was must see TV for the TV show, and
yeah.
I mean, I've been watching the last 2 3 years all the spinoffs, and yeah, so I don't know, but fair is fair. But no, but my favorite probably not a surprise. Somewhere in Milwaukee right now, Chris Niesman is smiling. I went with Lock and Key. I fucking love that comic.
Nice.
I could have said Peter. I've reread Lock and Key twice. Written by Joe Hill with incredible art by
Oh
Gabriel
yeah.
Rodriguez. Um, another series that ran for a long time, 2008 to 2013. Pretty badass 3 season Netflix adaptation of it as well. Um, just great, just a story about a haunted house that has tons of keys that are all imbued with mystical powers, and a family's the the patriarch of the family is brutally murdered, and so the widow and her kids move back to this house to live, and craziness ensues. And I thought every volume was must read, and long time listeners of the show know that we talked about pretty much every volume as it was coming out because
Yes.
Mr. Niesman was even more of a fan than I was at the time, and yeah, I think that book is just fantastic, and even the trade dress and everything about that book, IDW just crushed it. So Lock and Key, legit my favorite horror comic of all time.
It's a good one. No shade here. I originally had I hate this place slash fuck this place, but since it ended or it was a miniseries that ended, um, I went with an ongoing, and that would be my current favorite is Hyde Street.
Oh, nice. Okay, respect.
Yeah, give we'll give Ghost Machine a little bit of love, a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, certainly it was too new for it to pierce my veil. I didn't think of it that way, but like not because it's not worthy. I was thinking of like completed things, but yeah, no, that's a good one.
And this way, it's
Um,
also a throwback for those keen eared listeners to throw back at me when I said it wasn't a horror comic.
it's true. It is true. I was mystified by you both saying that. I was like, wait a minute. I had to read you guys the solicit where it literally said a horror comic, and I was like, it's in the solicit, boys. Um, all right, least favorite. This is pretty easy for me. This is pretty easy. I never liked this, and it probably made this company a ton of money because they kept doing more and more and more of it. And it's also, well, at least the first volume was actually written by the same boo who wrote Walking Dead, and that is Robert Kirkman, and he wrote the first volume of Marvel Zombies. And
Oh wow.
I can't stand Marvel Zombies. Never got the appeal, and we've gotten 8,000 versions of it over the years.
Yeah.
I just don't find it interesting at all to see my favorite Marvel characters drawn as zombies. Just nothing for me. I thought what was Homeboy's name that did all the covers? Think of his
Soydum.
name right now.
Arthur
Yeah,
Soydum.
Arthur Soydum with the covers. Like none of it worked for me. I thought it was corn pone, and I'd be just fine if it never existed. I own 87,000 Marvel Omnibus, Marvel's Omniverse, Omnibus. I just think it's corny from jump. So that's my pick.
I don't. Yeah. I can't argue that. Um, Mine. I didn't even think of it actually, but I didn't think of Marvel Zombies that way. But I went with this one. It was an easy answer for me just because there are certain things that I think should stay like Watchmen. It's a perfect comic book. Leave it as a comic book. Stranger Things is an amazing fucking TV show. Leave it as a TV show. Yeah, it's great that Dark Horse is making money with the license, but it doesn't work for me as a comic, and I just it's of all the horror comics out there, I would probably have to list it as my least favorite.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I haven't can't say I've read enough of it to have considered it, but what I did read, I was completely nonplussed by. So
Yeah. There's just certain things work when it's when you're watching a TV show, the live action, the music, the ambiance, the way you're being forced to watch it at the way the Duffler brothers are displaying it. Whereas with the comic, it's just yeah, some things just don't work for me.
yeah, no doubt. And so I believe you said you have one more, correct?
Yes, I have an OUFL on Superman stories.
Okay, now full disclosure, I didn't do this ahead of time, but I think given in the nature of Superman and that we've all read a lot of Superman. Even I have read what most consider a lot of Superman. It pales in comparison to how much Dap has read, but like I've read this would be like Dap with horror comics. I've read enough Superman
Yeah.
that I can have a picks here. I'll follow your lead. You can go first, and then I'll try and chime in for each category without having pre-planned it.
Uh, my this is gonna upset a lot of people with my overrated, Jason included, because it's probably gonna be his favorite. Uh, but
You motherfucker.
my overrated is, and it's a long running joke. I listen. I think he told a great story in 12 issues. Quietly's art is absolutely amazing. But yes, I feel of all the Superman stories being told, I feel All Star Superman is overrated. As much as you can enjoy it, as much as I've enjoyed it, um, I feel it's overrated. I know.
Okay, I know. Hey, do you, bro? Um, all right. I mean, if we're just firing off bullets, I'm gonna fire it off.
Go ahead, throw yours at me.
No, rest in peace. But Superman versus Muhammad Ali's corny.
Okay, I can't. Yeah, no, that's fine. I
You know, shout out to Neil Adams, and I know it's iconic
sure.
and all that, but
Yep.
like, even as a kid, I was like, all right, it's Superman. He fucking knocked Muhammad Ali's head off to fucking 7 planets. Like, what are we doing here? I don't like. So yeah, just
Fair
so
enough.
yeah.
Uh, underrated for me. It's a book that, but I'd also put this as an entry point. It's a, it's Superman Birthright by Mark Waid and Lionel Francis Yu. It's Wade basically took what Burns started with Man of Steel and kind of built on it, um, modernizing a few things here and there a decade or so later. But yeah, it's a great story, beautifully illustrated. It also fills in a lot of the gaps when between leaving Smallville to find himself and ending up in Metropolis. Wade also fills in a lot of gaps that Byrne left open in the Man of Steel mini. So definitely recommended. But yeah, I feel it's not something that I don't see it get talked about often enough. But it's a great self-contained 12 issue series that anybody could enjoy. But at the same time, I would think of all the Superman stories, it'd be one that I'd list as underrated.
Um, for underrated and you know you can call shenanigans if you want on this one, but again, I'm sort of doing this on the fly. I'm gonna go with the nail.
Oh, I like it. Yes.
Um, yeah, it's what was it, 3 issues? But
Yes.
it's an Elseworlds story that was written and
Beautifully
drawn by my
illustrated.
boo Alan Davis.
Yeah.
You know, and Alan obviously didn't draw a lot of the DC mainstays very often over his career. I mean, he did some, but far more known for his Marvel stuff. And I just loved it, and it was an Elseworld. Basically, the nail meeting. Literally, John and Martha Kent don't find baby Superman because they get a flat tire from a nail, and it's like the butterfly wings type of a concept. Like, what would happen if? And that one thing about a nail giving them a flat tire changes the entire existence of the DCU pretty irrevocably. And I thought it was cool. And again, seeing Alan Davis character, so I don't know that the nail is. You know, again, I don't know how. Like, maybe it's more popular than I don't feel like I see people talk about the nail very much. So
And we should, damn it.
yeah.
My favorite is hell. I mean, excuse me. It brought Superman into a more modern age. You can blame the getting caught up enjoying Byrne over at Marvel. But yeah, Man of Steel is one of it, but for the purposes of this game, to make it quick and easy, I'm going to say the 6 issue bi-weekly Man of Steel miniseries is my favorite Superman story.
Not surprised. Assume that's what you would pick. And your wise ass was correct. My favorite is undoubtedly All Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. I adore everything about that. To me, it's the quintessential Superman. I realize that's a very controversial take for your old heads out there, but I love it, and I will always love it, and it is my pick.
Which is wild because it's such a Silver Age story. I love it. I love that for
But I
you.
think Superman should be super Silver Age. He's at his best when he's Silver Age.
Yeah, yeah, there are definitely
So
some
that's my
moments that
pick.
I do not disagree. My least favorite, although the L could also stand for low point for me here. I do not, I dislike. I'm not going to say immensely, but I really, really do not like the new 52 version of Superman with the buzz cut and the black T-shirt and the jeans. And I was like, hey, Aaron Kuder's going to draw Superman, but oh, Aaron Kuder's drawing a Superman I don't want to read. So it was not a good, even the Morrison Rags Morales Superman looking like he just came out of a boxcar I wasn't really feeling that. But once, before they got rid of the whole, before Convergence, and we had this version of Superman, I was not a fan.
Respect. I- Again, I guess if I'm shooting bullets, I'm gonna go with the death of Superman.
Wow. Okay.
In part because of the impact in that it almost destroyed the industry.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
No.
which again,
That's
maybe
that's
it's not
fair.
fair to put it on that. Like no one could have known that, but um, yeah, I just
No, it could definitely
and
discolor
I've just
things.
never I've never liked Doomsday. I know Vince loves him.
Oh.
I just never liked Doomsday. I'm taking advantage of it's not being here. I'm just
I
shooting,
see
shooting,
that.
shooting, shooting. So yeah, so so Death of Superman, my pick.
Nice. Nice. That's great. This was a
There we
lot of
have it.
fun. This was a lot of
There
fun.
we
I,
have
I
it,
know.
dude. OUFL.
Oh man,
Thank you,
thank you,
Mr.
thank you.
Hambusi, for giving us
Yes,
the
hundred
idea.
percent. Yeah, we'll definitely have
Yeah,
to play this one once
yeah, for sure.
when Vince is back. But I think that's pretty much it. We're gonna have you in your travels. Thank you, of course, as always, for listening to us, for listening to this, for downloading episodes. You know where you can find us if you want to leave your reviews. Hit us up on the socials. You know where the patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Again, cheapgraphicnovels.com for all your collected edition needs. Um, in your travels, this actually was released this week, and I can't believe that it has been a long time since we had an actual proper criminal story by Brubaker and Phillips. We've had all the reckless stuff. We've had pulp. Um, we've had Houses of the Unholy. We've had a bunch of standalone or other stories by these two and Jacob. But we're finally back in the world of criminal, and the knives is fantastic. It's basically it's three stories intersecting. You get to see Tracy Lawless. You get to see it feels like it feels like we're back home. Once you get into it, once you're back in this town, it really feels like you haven't left, and it seems as though we're going to. So this is the 11th criminal book, and they are working on the next one featuring Ricky Lawless. Uh, but this was just an absolute blast, and it's long too. It's over 200 pages. Um, but yeah, it you got Jake Kurtz. You got there's just yeah it's the Undertow makes an appearance. I mean, basically everything you remember and love about Criminal, you're gonna get here in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, like I said, it's out this week. If you haven't ordered it, you can absolutely get it at cheapgraphicnovels.com. But in your travels, um, it is The Knives, a criminal book.
Very nice. We don't normally do this, but I'm going to, in the spirit of this being a strange episode from Jump, I'm going to. I don't want to talk about this book in your travels because it deserves more than that. So I'm going to preview, so some of you can maybe read it between now and then. But the best comic I read this year, and almost assuredly will remain my favorite comic I read this year over the next 4 months, is Drome by Jesse Lonergan. Again, I'm not gonna. I will talk about this next week in detail because
Nice.
it deserves it. It'll be the first thing I talk about. But I wanted to sort of let people know that because I had to shout it to the because I did allude in the Slack that I read while on vacation my favorite comic of the year, and that is the comic, and I will talk about it next week.
Love it.
In the meantime, in your travels, my intro, of course, I called myself Cass Pollock, who those some of you may recognize is the male quote unquote protagonist from Mr. Howard Chaykin's Black Kiss. That is in celebration of the Black Kiss omnibus, which I also read while on vacation.
Nice. Yeah, I got it right
Um,
next to me.
yeah, we have talked about Black Kiss, both Black Kiss and Black Kiss 2 over the years on the show, so you can check our archives and find them. We went deep. But it is the omnibus is wonderful. It is a complete, and it's actually I didn't even when I pre-ordered this, I didn't realize this, but it includes the original Black Kiss series, which came out in 1988, which is 12 issues. It includes, of course, Black Kiss 2, which came out in 2012, 6 issues. It includes the Black Kiss Triple Xmas in July special, which came out, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 2014, I think. But what I didn't realize is it also includes a brand new 28-page Black Kiss Halloween special, which was like such a fun cherry on top of it because I ordered the book not knowing that there was new content, and it's delightful. Chaykin still got it. For those that are unfamiliar with Black Kiss, it is an extremely transgressive comic series. It is, I mean, the opening pages are transsexual woman, blowing a guy and having anal sex, and then getting ejaculated upon, and it never stops from there. It is X-rated, triple X-rated. It is also violent and supernatural, and basically the main characters are Beverly Grove, who is a an aging Hollywood starlet with bleach blonde hair and big boobs and a big booty, and still very sexy despite her being quote unquote past her prime, and her best friend Dagmar Lane. Dagmar pretty much is the spitting image of Beverly, almost like stalker level. The only difference is Dagmar's got a giant cock. Dagmar's a trans woman, and they have a lot of fun and hijinks, toying with people, um, and ultimately, and I don't think I'm spoiling here since it's a 30-year-old comic. You come to find out that Beverly is in fact a vampire, and she is and Dagmar is her thrall, and hijinks ensue. So, but it is wonderful rereading it. This was I did a complete reread of the whole thing. It's as delightfully naughty and transgressive as it was when it first came out, and it will make you blush if you're genteel in any way, shape, or form. So, uh, this is you put the women and children to bed for maybe not the women, but you put the kids to bed and make sure they don't see you reading. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a great. The omnibus is a really great packaging of all of it together. So highly recommend to those of you that like the freakier stuff. and you didn't already pre-order this, do check out the Black Kiss Omnibus.
Yes. Um, I just realized that, well, not just realized before we started tonight, um, my copy came with basically a book plate.
Oh, nice.
It's just Unkleenex. It's like a wacky package kind of thing. Unkleenex special jumbo pack. So it's a box of tissues. Haha. And signed by Shaken.
Awesome.
So yeah. But yeah, I I wish I could bring the omnibus with me tomorrow while I'm out and about. Take my mind off things and read it, but I don't think that'll go over well. So I have to. I'm gonna have to spend some time
Yeah.
this weekend and dig into it.
Nice.
Thank you again, everybody, for being here with us. Thank you for putting up with this special episode. We we'll see if things are back to normal next week. Otherwise, we'll be here to bring the fun. So we'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody.
Be
Bye bye.
well. Love you.
Love you.
That's it for that one.